Hola, welcome to the Drop Dead Sisters podcast. My name is Francesca.
And my name is Ninoshka.
And we are fine, thank you very much.
We're here.
I'm just saying that as a joke, and I don't mean it like that. You know, we were expecting Hurricane Dorian to hit us here in Florida, but it never came, thank God. But the Bahamas, yo, they got fucked up, for real.
That was sad.
That was crazy, and we were following the entire track, of this monster hurricane, and it was just chilling there, like 1 mile per hour in the Bahamas. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it got to the point where it was like stationary, not moving at all.
It was crazy, and we saw a few videos from victims that, it was just insane and sad. We felt like going there and helping them, but of course, we know we couldn't. But just keep in mind that there are a lot of agencies in your local towns who are currently accepting donations, to take to the Bahamas. And we hope that anyone, that can help at least a can of beans or anything, you do it. And we hope that the Bahamas can bounce back from this horrible tragedy that happened to them.
Yeah, anything at this point will help these people. Definitely.
Yep.
Well, today we're going to be discussing one, if not the most fucked up abduction case in history. And unfortunately, I'm disgusted to say that the perpetrator was Puerto Rican.
Blech.
But thank God that he's no longer part of our beautiful existence, especially his victim's existence. In between the years of 2002 to 2004, 42-year-old Ariel Castro abducted 3 young beautiful girls in Cleveland, Ohio. He kept them there, not for days or months, but for many, many years, man.
Yep. So be prepared because this is a very fucked up case with many kinds of graphic details, but it's the real life horror story that happened to 3 beautiful young girls, Michelle, Amanda, and Gina.
And now, let's jump right into the episode.
Cleveland 911.
Hello, police. Help me, I'm Amanda Berry.
You need police, fire, or ambulance.
I need police.
Okay, and what's going on there?
I've been kidnapped and I've been missing for 10 years and I'm here. I'm free now.
Okay, and what's your address?
2207 Seymour Avenue.
On August 23rd of 2002, 21-year-old Michelle Knight went to her cousin's house, and when she left, she was on her way back home, walking of course. She was stopped by a man called Ariel Castro. Castro was in his car, and he wasn't a stranger as Michelle knew one of his daughters. He offered Michelle a ride home, in which she agreed, but when she got into Castro's car, he actually offered her a puppy. He stated that he had this puppy at his house, which was on 2207 Seymour Avenue in Cleveland, Ohio. Michelle had a son, and she thought that her son would love this puppy. It said that Michelle had to appear in court that same day for a child custody case that she had, since she didn't currently have custody of her son, but unfortunately, due to the events that are about to happen, she was never able to make it to that appointment. When she arrived to Castro's house, Michelle said that she knew that it had been a mistake to get into Castro's car. There was no puppy at the house, and she ended up being restrained and trapped in a small room, chained up, beat up, starved, and repeatedly raped for over 10 years. And not even a year after her abduction, Castro was out in the hunt for another innocent young girl.
On April 21st of 2003, 16-year-old Amanda Berry had finished her work shift at Burger King. She was ready to celebrate her 17th birthday the next day. While Amanda was walking home, she noticed a van. She recognized the girl in the van and the man driving it, as she went to middle school with this girl, and the man who was driving the car, Ariel Castro, was the school bus driver. Yeah, the disgusting piece of shit was a school bus driver. Isn't that crazy?
That's so fucking weird.
Ugh. Later on, while Amanda was still walking home from work, she noticed the same van. This time, only the man, Ariel Castro, was in it, not the girl. Castro stopped and asked her if she wanted a ride, to which Amanda agreed. It said that Castro told her that his daughter was at his house and asked Amanda if she wanted to see her, and Amanda said yes. She was friends with her since they went to school together after all. Yep. When they arrived to Castro's house, Castro told Amanda that his daughter was taking a shower. Castro's daughter wasn't at the house at all, but Amanda didn't know it. And while they waited for Castro's daughter to apparently finish taking a shower, Castro showed Amanda the house and took her upstairs, where he showed her something she found very strange. It was a woman sleeping in a bedroom. This woman was Michelle Knight, who Castro had kidnapped almost a year ago, like you mentioned before.
Yeah, that's crazy. She just remembers seeing this girl in a room. I guess that she just had like a TV stand on the room. And Amanda states that all she remembers next is that Castro took her to the next bedroom and that it was very dark. She said that he did not turn on the lights, but he told her to take off her pants. Then he took her to the basement. He bound her with tape and wrapped a belt around her ankles over the tape, like some type of like weird belt to chain her, I guess. It said that he put a helmet over her head and he told her that if she didn't make any noise, that he would take her home. 4 days after, so it's been already 4 days since she's been there, he took her to a room upstairs where he chained her and left her there. And just like that, Amanda, just like Michelle, ended up being restrained and trapped in this house of horrors, chained up, beat up, and repeatedly raped for over 10 years. And almost a year after Amanda's kidnapping, Ariel Castro once again was on the hunt for another innocent young girl. This time it was a much younger girl. So keep in mind that he already has 2 girls. He has Michelle, who was 21 years old. Then not even a year after, he kidnapped Amanda, who was 16 years old. And unfortunately, on April 2nd of 2004, he kidnapped 14-year-old Gina de Jesus. Gina and her friend, which happened to be one of Castro's daughters, they got out of middle school and went straight to a payphone to ask Gina's mom for permission to have Castro's daughter for a sleepover, in which, well, they were not given permission. And at this time, Gina and her friend just parted ways, and while Gina was walking on her way home, she was approached by Castro in his car. And he, just like he did with Michelle and Amanda, offered her a ride, which she agreed to because she, once again, was friends with his daughter and she knew him. So Castro took Gina to his house, and just like the 2 other girls, Gina was restrained, beat up, and repeatedly raped for over 9 years.
Isn't that crazy that, they were friends and that piece of shit just went and just grabbed her, knowing that she knew who he was, like they were just together.
He took it for opportunity. That's exactly why he did it. Like, it's so random that they all knew. I guess it was, the same community, because for what I know, Michelle, the first girl, and Amanda, the second girl who Castro abducted, they were actually abducted from the same exact street, which is so weird.
Wow, really?
Yeah, this was a horrible turn of events for these 3 beautiful, innocent young girls who innocently accepted a ride from a person who turned out to be a horrible monster.
For over 10 years, Michelle Knight was kept in a small room, all by herself, with just the TV. She was very malnourished and basically tortured day after day. Her family had reported her missing, but in 2003, just a year after her disappearance, her family took her off the missing persons list since they thought that she had been a runaway. So they literally gave up on the hope on finding her, She was 21 and I don't know. You never know what was happening in the family, I would never stop looking for my child. That's something I would say.
I don't think Michelle had a very tough childhood. If you watch her interviews, you see the way she talks about her family. It seems like they were not in good terms either way.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Michelle was very aware of this, and as she was allowed to watch TV, this was devastating news for her. All the time Michelle had been held as a prisoner in this house of horrors, she was impregnated by the piece of shit 5 times, girl. 5 times. And all this 5 times, he literally beat her up with a barbell in her stomach to get rid of the pregnancies, man. This oh my God. I cannot imagine, man.
That's brutal. That's brutal, girl. Like, he didn't do anything else to try. He didn't want babies in the house. And this is the way that he decided not to make those babies happen. Like, he raped her repeatedly. Like, he didn't give a fuck about all the horrible things he was doing to them, to then beat her up in her own stomach when she's carrying, like, a human being, like a baby. Like, that's just
like, what
terrifying
the fuck?
to me.
Like, it wasn't enough for him to put these girls, like, through all this pain by abducting them, beating them up, brutally raping them,
Yeah.
and like multiple times a day, and also like beat her up.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's very sad. So before Gina was abducted, Amanda said that she was tied up with a chain around her waist. And when Gina came along, then they were both tied up with the same chain around their ankles. It seems like there was like a hole in the wall that separated both of the rooms. And it seems like, well, that's where the chain was, like through a hole in Amanda's room and the other one in Gina's room. Amanda said that Castro one day asked her if, she needed anything from the store, and she requested a journal in which she would write all the details of her horrible days. And she said that she would also include how many times she was raped each day. She would write it like in a code so that if he read it, he wouldn't know that she was actually like keeping track of it. I think in an interview, she said that she hoped that if police ever found that journal, that they would be able to have, like more evidence or more details about the horrible things that happened to them. At this point, they've been there for years and they don't even know if they're getting out alive. You know what I mean? They were living in terrible, inhumane conditions. They were not even allowed to like shower regularly or eat without paying a price. Amanda recalls that at times, if she wanted to shower, in order for her to be able to even do it, she had to like shower with him, which that's so horrible to think. And, the girl stated that they had to basically learn how to live with constant raping situations until they became almost immune to it. Since it seems like this disgusting perv piece of shit Castro, he seemed to enjoy, like, while he was raping them, he enjoyed like seeing them crying or suffering. So they said that they didn't want to give him that pleasure, so they tried not to even complain while they were being raped. Isn't
like there
that's
was nothing
just so
going
fucking
on.
horrible?
And also I heard that Michelle said that it was the moment where she was also like 8 months without taking a shower. 8 fucking months.
She got it the worst. The girl said that she got it the worst.
Well, 3 years after being imprisoned, Amanda got pregnant and she was scared, as she thought that the same way as Michelle, Castro would beat her up to lose the baby. Well, Castro didn't want any babies in the house because, of course, people who visited could hear. Because, Castro also had visitors from time to time and also hosted a few barbecues with friends and family. And no one ever knew the monster that he really was. Or that there were 3 girls feet away from them, They were being held captive and nobody knew anything. And they were visiting. Well, it said that he would keep the radio very loud to avoid any noises being heard. And on December 25th of 2006, Amanda gave birth to the only good thing that came out of this monster, a beautiful baby girl that she decided to name Jocelyn. But this wasn't a pretty moment either, It said that when Amanda began to have contractions, that Castro brought in a baby pool and had Amanda sit there until it was time to give birth. Since her water had already broke, he brought in Michelle, and she was only 16 years old, I believe, to help deliver the baby. They stated that Castro was just in there, in the room, sitting in a rocking chair, watching it all happen. So he wasn't doing shit, just letting them just improvise.
Yeah, he brought in that pool because he did not want them to basically mess up the bed. Like, they were living in inhumane conditions. He wouldn't allow them to shower. The bed was disgusting and all of that. And he didn't want them to mess up the bed. That's why he brought a pool.
Piece of shit.
Oh, my God.
While Amanda was joyful for this baby in an odd way, I mean, of course, it's like a baby that happened out of a horrible rape. But it was her baby. It was Very weird though, but I know I kind of understand, she's becoming a mother even though if it's a real situation. Well, she would teach the baby Jocelyn the alphabet, how to read, and even how to cross an imaginary street. All of this while they were in a small room.
Yep. It said that Castro really loved his baby, and this weirdo, even though he knew all the fucked up shit that he was doing to these girls, I don't even know how, in his fucked up head, he thought that they were his family. He thought that love was involved, as if the girls would just randomly, love being there and loved him and they would never want to go back with their families. Like, fuck? Dude, are you fucking kidding me? Like, how the fuck would he expect them to love him after all the fucked up shit that he was doing to them? Like, I don't even know, like, for real. So, as baby Jocelyn grew up and started noticing more things, it seems like she asked Castro why her mom Amanda was always in the room. And at that point, Ariel began, which is Castro, he began to allow Amanda to walk around the house. So Michelle was basically always kept alone in a room. And the girls say that, like I mentioned earlier, that they know that she's the one who had it the worst out of the three, which is horrible. And Gina was kept chained in the room. And Amanda, she was given a little more allowance because of the baby, later on. But still, like, they're still being fucking held hostage.
Well, Ariel Castro, this piece of shit, was born in Yauco, Puerto Rico, unfortunately, but lived in Cleveland, Ohio. In 1992, he purchased the House of Horrors in Seymour Avenue. He used to live there with his wife and 4 kids, but he eventually turned violent and she left him in 1996. She, of course, gained custody of all the kids. She had accused him many times of being violent with her, but all the charges were dropped. We really wish he was prosecuted for all those charges. Maybe all this could have been avoided. Like we mentioned before, He was a school bus driver, which is a horror to think about, seriously. He was fired from this job, thank God, because he was a very irresponsible driver and had a few bad reports from a couple of students. And then in 2002, he put his plan into action and abducted Michelle, and well, we know the rest.
On May 6th of 2013, Jocelyn, who was now 6 years old, was downstairs playing when she noticed that Castro's car was gone. She went upstairs and told her mom Amanda. Amanda said that her heart started like pounding really hard since she knew that her room door was unlocked. And well, Castro was gone and she really didn't know if she should try to make the big escape because I guess that, he was very violent with them. So she was scared that if he wasn't gone or maybe he was testing them that, she would be punished. You know what I mean? But
he had them brainwashed in a way,
Yeah, I mean, they've been there for 10 years. Like, I'm guessing that they tried to escape, probably at the beginning, and they had really bad punishments. And, she has a daughter now, which is something to consider. She doesn't want to be punished or nothing to happen to her daughter. But this is also what gave her the strength to actually make that escape. She thought of her daughter. She thought that she didn't want her daughter to live the rest of her life this way, so she just decided to try to escape. So when she went downstairs, the front door seemed to be open, but it was actually wired. So the only thing that Amanda could do was squeeze one of her hands out through a small space out the door. And this is when one of the neighbors, his name is Charles Ramsey, he was literally walking in the street eating his McDonald's food when he saw Amanda's hand and heard her yelling for help. He first thought that this was probably, like a domestic dispute. He knew that this was, of course, Castro's house until she yelled like, "I'm Amanda Berry, please call the police." She told him to please help her get out and escape and that she had been there for a very long time. And this neighbor, again, he knew Castro. He had even attended barbecue events at his house. And he said that he never knew that the 3 girls that were abducted were actually kept in Castro's house. He had no fucking idea. No one had any idea. You know what I mean?
Well, the 911 call that we played at the beginning of this episode is when Amanda speaks with the 911 operator. We only included a small clip of her saying that it was her, Amanda Berry, and that she had been kidnapped for 10 years, but that she was alive. And you guys look up the 911 call and listen to it, and you will notice how shitty the 911 operator was. Seriously, I just wanted to fucking slap her. She was so fucking inefficient.
It's true.
It's ridiculous. And after this call, the police arrived, and when they searched the house, they found Michelle and Gina. Gina said that she heard a noise and that she thought that Ariel had caught Amanda trying to escape. And she knew that Amanda would be in great trouble. Obviously, like I said, they were brainwashed. But she was wrong. It was the police who came to rescue her. And she said that it didn't hit her that she was actually rescued until she was like at the hospital.
Yep. So all 3 girls were rescued. They were taken to the hospital. And it said that Michelle was just 80 pounds when she was rescued. Like, that's just crazy because she was already like, I don't even know, probably almost 30
I was
years
80
old.
pounds like when I was like 9.
You were 80 pounds when you were 5.
Okay, that's bullying right there.
Because when you were 8, you remember they didn't let us get in the ponies
You see?
in school? Because
Those are
we were
childhood memories that I don't want to remember.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, all 3 girls were, basically, again, taken to the hospital. Castro was arrested later that same day, and in July 12 of 2013, he was indicted on 977 counts. Amanda and Gina didn't testify in court, but Michelle did. She actually gave a very strong and heartbreaking testimony, letting that piece of shit, Castro, know that no matter what he did to her, she was still alive and stronger than ever, and that he didn't break her. In this court appearance, Ariel spoke, but we're really not going to talk about it because it's fucking irrelevant. Like, we don't want to say what he said because it doesn't fucking matter, okay?
And it doesn't make sense either.
Yeah, no, it doesn't make sense. The only thing we want to mention, which also doesn't make any sense, he said that it wasn't his fault because he was a sick man. He had a sex addiction.
Yeah, that he was the
Addiction.
victim.
Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Fucking idiot.
Yeah, he said that he had been sexually assaulted when he was a minor, so he was actually trying to play the fucking victim. Like, dude, it's a little too late for that, okay?
A little way too late.
Yeah. On July 26 of 2013, Castro was sentenced to life in prison plus 1,000 years.
It feels good to hear that, you know?
Yep.
Not even life sentence will feel as good as this because it's like you're going to be your whole fucking life in jail. Well, on September 3rd of 2013, this piece of shit committed suicide by hanging himself with the bed sheets on his prison cell. He couldn't take it, huh? I'm trying to tell you.
He's a fucking coward.
Well, this one, I really wanted him to suffer, like I said. But, well, he'll suffer the rest of his life in hell. Or he'll probably pay for all of this on his next miserable life and the next one to come also. Well, as for this brave survivors, Michelle Knight changed her name legally to Lillian Rose Lee. She got married, also wrote 2 books about her experience and hopes to one day be able to reunite with her son, who was adopted and is currently living with great adoptive parents. She has given a few inspiring interviews about her experience and about how she was able to help people overcome shit like this one. Amanda Berry and Gina wrote a book together as well, and they both are also working on helping others just like them.
This was such a crazy story, and what these girls went through is just a person's worst nightmare. But we are so happy to know, that they're safe and that after 10 years, they were able to escape. They were literally living in hell. And we wish nothing but the best for them. And we're glad to know that this monster of Ariel Castro is no longer part of this planet. We hope that a situation like this, never happens again, even though we don't know if right now, once again, at this time, it may be happening to someone else. There are a lot of weirdos out there, just like the Jamie Claus abductor and the Mackenzie Lewitt killer, who intended to keep girls as their prisoners to do, I don't know, whatever sick fantasy they got. It's just weird. So people, please, stay safe.
Well, this is it for today's episode. We hope that you guys enjoyed it and stay tuned because our next case is a cold case, actually. We haven't done any of this yet, but since Halloween is just around the corner, we want to begin to create the spookiness, Thanks again for listening, and visit our website for more information at dropdeadsisters.com.
And also follow us on our social media. Our Instagram is Drop Dead Sisters Podcast. Our Twitter is Drop Dead Sisters. And our Facebook is Drop Dead Sisters, That True Crime Podcast. See you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.